Just a reminder today to redefine things. And I think it's one of the things that we forget because when you're busy paying taxes, feeding children, punching clocks, you don't really have the luxury to redefine things, unless something crazy happens in your life where you're forced to redefine things. So, whether that is a divorce or maybe a life transition, or like us, house burns down, which forces you to travel and explore. Many people are not redefining unless they're forced to. I want to encourage you, challenge you to redefine some things. And you don't have to like move out of the country and redefine everything, kind of like what I'm doing now. But maybe you want to redefine what relationships look like. Maybe you want to start by redefining what happy looks like. Maybe you want to redefine fitness or hobbies or friendships, or I think it's in the redefinition because we pull from our definitions, whether we're aware of it or not.
I'm John Kim, a licensed therapist who used to be a miserable fuck before going on a hero's journey and turning expired relationships into revelations. I use my story to help others come with you instead of at you, unrehearsed on purpose, because self-help doesn't have to be polished or complicated, just honest.
So I'm doing a lot more what I call walk and talk podcast episodes. They will be a series, and it's basically me picking up the microphone and camera, documenting my journey. It reminds me of my first rebirth back in K-Town at 35 post-divorce, walking and talking while I do sessions and, listening to Wayne Dyer and just being reflective. So I'm at the beach here in Costa Rica. Just woke up, had my coffee, and one of the things I'm realizing is how much charge the mornings give me here. It's really hard not to be grateful and happy in the mornings here. I was talking to a friend. Look at this list. Oh, by the way, if I see a lizard or iguana or monkey or anything I think you may be interested in looking at, I will video it real quick. I was texting friends this morning, and one of the things I realized was because in Los Angeles, I never really went anywhere, even though I thought it was a wide life. I realized how narrow it was. And it's not just becoming to Costa Rica. It's I think it's like a mindset change, So if you know my story, I never really traveled. It's kind of embarrassing, but I joke about how in Los Angeles, the furthest I'd ever been was Lucida, And now that at 52, I'm in another country. The world has kind of opened up for me. I came across this village slash commune slash movement happening in another part of Costa Rica where it's like a straight up, you know, self-funded village with infrastructure, teachers, people giving back, school, farm to table, regenerative living. And I was thinking to myself, wow, like there is so much possible now. And these are things that I when I was in Los Angeles that I would observe like the news, but not really explore, right? Not really check it out as a way of possibilities, but instead, oh, it's out there. But when you're scrolling social media and stuff, you don't really see it. There's distance, right? But now I'm starting to see how big the world is, and that you can redefine anything. You can redefine like this idea of having different homes, this idea of functional ownership or owning something where maybe you stay somewhere for a couple months, then you travel somewhere else for a couple months. Like I thought that kind of stuff was for millionaires, right? And I'm realizing it's actually possible. Even here, we're maybe thinking about living here for like half the year or 9 months, and then for the summer, going somewhere entirely different. And once I'm realizing, and this is happening in real time, by the way, we're talking just recently, I don't know. I'm realizing that I've lived in such a bubble. I'm realizing that what I thought life should be, could be, was limited to my narrow thinking. And I think part of why I'm meant to be here is to delete anything narrow. So whether we're talking about redefining connection, redefining, my relationship with nature, redefining what surfing can mean, seeing the ocean as a living, breathing thing and energy and not just waves or a place to swim, redefining play, redefining food, redefining, everything, fitness, and I think my first rebirth at 35, I was discovering for the first time things like flow states, motorcycles, obviously self-help, playing with my Legos, as a therapist who kind of went rogue, using technology to connect people. Like all of that was discovery. It was new and exciting. And now I'm actually redefining. And when you redefine things, the world gets big. When you stay in your definitions, which I think I have been for so long, and if it wasn't for our house burning down, it wouldn't have forced me to redefine life, redefine everything. When you don't redefine and you stay in your world, it doesn't matter how big your world is, right? You could live in a giant city, you could travel a lot, but if you're not redefining, then I think growth is stunted. I think your world, not your literal world, but your inner world can become small, right? And then when you're narrow and your definitions are not expansive, I don't know how much growth can happen because you're not exploring, you're not leaning into anything new or discomfort. You're just tracing daily patterns, routines. Your life could just get very small. And I think that's one of the greatest revelations I'm having so far. I just saw a surfer eat it on this giant. Look at these waves. By the way, the waves here for surfing is like next level. Growing up in Los Angeles, the ocean's cold. When you consider parking traffic, you never really go to the beach. But here, holy shit, the water is like 75 degrees all the time. There are no lifeguards, by the way. So there's surfers out there by themselves. And you can't really tell how big the waves are. But you're on your own here. It's you and nature, no one else. Anyway, just a reminder today to redefine things. And I think it's one of the things that we forget because when you're busy paying taxes, feeding children, punching clocks, you don't really have the luxury to redefine things, unless something crazy happens in your life where you're forced to redefine things. So whether that is a divorce or maybe a life transition, or like us, house burns down, which forces you to travel and explore. Many people are not redefining unless they're forced to. And so I guess I want to encourage you, challenge you to redefine some things. And, you don't have to like move out of the country and redefine everything, kind of like what I'm doing now. But maybe you want to redefine what relationships look like. Maybe you want to start by redefining what happy looks like. Maybe you want to redefine fitness or hobbies or friendships, or I think it's in the redefinition because we pull from our definitions, whether we're aware of it or not. And a lot of our definitions are formed by society, constructs, media, advertising, right? And so when you start to redefine, and you don't have to leave the country to do this, when you start to redefine what happy looks like, what successful looks like, what joy, love, relationships, sex, intimacy, friendships, like when you start to redefine that, then you will start to get very curious and explore. And in that redefining, what will happen is this: standing at a different place in your life, literally, right? And then you're giving your body a new experience. And I think by doing this, you will start to be wide instead of narrow. So right after this, I'm getting into my golf cart and taking my daughter to a skate camp, like down the street in a golf cart, right? And I never thought 6 months ago that I would be living by the beach, taking my daughter to school in a golf cart, and cracking open coconuts for my energy drink, taking up surfing. I mean, it's nuts how much my life has changed in 6 months. And it's given me newer lenses. I am humbled, I am grateful, and I am seeing the world as wide, endless, instead of this little bubble I used to live in. Anyway, I'll continue to document my story and revelations. There's this surge of creativity I'm also getting because Costa Rica has a lot of feminine energy, and I'm not talking about gender. What I mean by feminine energy is a creative energy, calm, nature, nurturing, right? As opposed to the city, LA, New York, a lot of masculine energy, hustle, grind, survival mode, building. And, of course, we want kind of the balance of both. But what I'm noticing is because of this creative energy, this feminine energy that I am getting from Costa Rica, it's feeding my desire to play with my Legos again. It's getting me to want to create, which is why I'm doing things like this, picking up the camera, microphone, walking and talking on the beach. I don't think I've had this resurge in a long time. When you make content for a living, you kind of get into the same patterns, and change in environment can get you to color outside the lines. So that's another thing that I'm realizing by being here, by switching things up, putting yourself into different environments, right? Can also, it's like the other way in. Instead of changing mindsets, creating new definitions wherever you're at, and trying to allow behavior, energy, follow that new trajectory. If you put yourself in a new environment, if you force yourself to be in someplace new, like we are here, that can also be the other way that you expand and grow, because you're seeing different things, you're noticing, you're also allowing your body to feel something different. And then that's going to ripple outward. And so for me, holy shit, it's been a kind of an awakening, taking in a country that is more feminine energy producing, which is feeding my creativity, which channels my spaces for flow state, which gets me to be more present, more grounded, seeing a lot more color in life. Didn't experience this in the city much. So anyway, it's opened my world up. And I just want to end on a reminder for you, if you're listening to this or watching this, to redefine things. You have to redefine your entire life, which just redefine some parts of your life, and ask yourself, if you were to pull from those new definitions, what would your life look like? Be curious, not judgmental. You're going to get judgment. I know there's friends and people who are following my story, judging me. Maybe some people think I've gone crazy. I don't know. But what's important is that you stay curious. And as you do, I think your potency will go up, your gifts, your states, your frequency, and you're going to experience a new world. Thank you for listening. Be well.